Hello, BookTube. Well, it's a dark day here in Boston. Low clouds, driving rain. Just a complete contrast with yesterday, which was our last day of summer. Yesterday was bright and humid and hot and sunny, and today is the exact opposite. It's been dark as twilight all day. And that, here at High Cottage, that has caused a certain amount of torpor. I think Frida and I are both largely solar powered. And days like this, we don't even feel like bugging each other, much less going out and bugging the world. So I have some mail. We did get a mail delivery this morning, before the weather really started, and for all I know, we'll get one this afternoon. I don't know. Well, the mailman, the kid who walks around the route, certainly won't be out on a day like this. but the mail truck could easily. I saw him earlier today out and about. I know he's on his route, so he could do that. So we'll look at these books and talk about them a bit, and then maybe we'll visit again today. Otherwise, we'll on days like today, when the sky is so low you could reach up and touch it, and it's pouring rain, the will to make 6 videos just sort of vanishes. Anyway, let's see what we have here, and maybe the doing will help with the wanting to do. That is often the way in life. So let's see. Oh, fantastic! Okay, I requested this. This comes out next year, and it is right up my alley. This is by Beppe Severignini, and it is Off the Rails. It's this author's account of a lifetime spent in train trips. And I have spent a lifetime in trains myself. So what happens when one man travels across Europe with a bobblehead of Donald Trump by his side? Buckle up and enjoy the ride as acclaimed Italian journalist, New York Times contributor, and longtime correspondent for The Economist, and unflagging train buff, Beppe Severini, takes you around the world via rail car. In a society constantly searching for the fastest way to travel and seemingly to live, the author revels in his many leisurely hours spent aboard trains, and the cultures, identities, and people on board have shaped his understanding of the world outside his train car window. That just sounds fantastic to me. I gobble up books about trains because I think, in America anyway, the train system is largely federally subsidized, and so it has a big crosshair on its back. It's going to either end as we know it, or it's going to undergo a radical change. And that's a shame if it ends, because I've spent a lot of time on Amtrak, which is what we call the system here. I've also spent an enormous amount of time on train systems everywhere else in the world. But here in America, I have traveled a lot by train. It is a beautiful way to travel by train. This is a big, beautiful country, and you only see that when you travel it on the ground. And if you're traveling in a car, you're worried a lot of the time. Long distance travel by car, you're worried. You have logistics to worry about. You have gas and lodging to worry about. When you travel by train long distances, that's all taken off your shoulders. You don't have to worry about anything except your own provisions. And even then, there's a dining car. It's just wonderful. It's just wonderful. So that's great. That's fantastic. What a way to start the mail haul. All right, let's move on here. I have gotten so much reading and writing done on trains. Oh no. Oh, okay. Okay, we won't be doing this one. I didn't look ahead of time. This is actually a book for review. A book for Kirkus Reviews. I review for a book every day for Kirkus Reviews. So, and I long since decided, I did it first, open these just with all the other books, but I long since decided that it's not really fair to the author for me to talk about their book, even in general terms, since my reviews on Kirkus are unsigned. So we'll just skip that one. we'll move on to this next one here. What is this next one? We went out earlier today. I thought we'll get in one last walk before the rain gets here, and we were too late. We timed it just a bit wrong, and the rain had already started in earnest. It wasn't mist anymore. It was actually coming down in a fine, pelting pepper. And neither one of us knew that until we stretched our legs just a bit. Then we both realized at the same time, oh my God, it's actually raining out here. And we just did a loop straight back. With nothing. Nothing happened at all. No adventures, no biological needs, no nothing. We just immediately turned around and came back, because this dog, of all the dogs I've ever had, hates the rain so much. so we just didn't do it. But anyway, what have we got here? Oh, fantastic. Okay, I requested this. This comes out next year. Do I have a cover? Do I have a cover for this? No, I don't think I do. This is, it's a book called The Wolf and the Watchman. And it's the English language translation of a this is the cover of the galley, Stockholm, 1793. Look at that. Isn't that neat? A lawyer, an orphan, a gambler, a madman. One wants justice, one wants freedom, one wants riches, one wants blood. And this is by Niklas Nacht och Dag. It's his debut novel. This is our author. And apparently, it's a big deal. His debut novel in 2000, this is from 2017, was named Best Debut by the Swedish Academy of Crime Writers and is being published in 30 countries. He's a member of Sweden's oldest surviving noble family, hence the name. And his name translates in English to Night and Day. He lives in Stockholm with his wife and 2 sons. And this, I guess, was a crime novel sensation, and is poised to be one in translation. Sold to more than 30. The rights were sold to more than 30 countries, and it was the best debut novel for the Swedish Academy of Crime Writers, and it was also shortlisted for Sweden's 2018 Best Book of the Year award. So it seems like there's a buzz around this book, not just as a genre novel, but also just as a general reading experience. But anyway, what do we got here? It debuted at number 2 on Sweden's hardcover fiction list and number 1 on the ebook list. Well, now I want to know what number 1 was on the debut list. That's a very American thing for me to think. Sorry about that. With rights sold in more than 30 countries, including top literary houses in the UK, Germany, France, Italy, Holland, and Denmark. This book is poised to become one of the most exciting debuts of 2019. Set in 18th century Stockholm, this breathtakingly bold and intricately constructed novel... Slow down there, Seymour. I'll quite literally be the judge of that. Follows 4 compelling characters whose paths collide in surprising and unforgettable ways, all while a dying man races to unmask a ruthless murderer. With one foot firmly planted in the traditions of classical historical fiction and the other in dark literary suspense, The Wolf and the Watchman is a grand entertainment. Sounds like an instance of The Finger Post. An Instance of the Finger Post by Ian Pears, a novel I really loved and very much want to reread, and noticed the other day I do not own. Didn't have a copy of it. How many copies of that book have I had? In the big, fat, brick mass market, in the hardcover, in the trade paperback? How many copies of that book have I owned? And recommended, and handed to people, and mailed to people. And now when I roll out of bed and I want to reread it, it's not here. That's what I tell you. It is 1793, when a night watchman finds a mutilated body in the city's foulest lake. He works alongside a brilliant lawyer turned police investigator to establish the identity of the dead man, and becomes embroiled in a world of tricksters and thieves, con artists and killers. As this story intersects with that of a young girl condemned to the workhouse and a handsome farmer's son whose gambling debts force him to commit unspeakable acts, the novel explores the darkness lurking in every human, even those who may, on the surface, seem beyond reproach. Like Sean the Book Maniac. I wonder what he is. Is he a lawyer, an orphan, a gambler, or a madman? I think we all know what Adam of Memento Mori is. How did that line go again? A handsome farmer's son whose gambling debts force him to commit unspeakable acts. I tell you, booktube lurks in every galley. And let's see here. What about Nicholas Not Okdag? He's, are we going to learn anything more about him? This is his debut novel. And what have we got here? We got, okay, international praise from a whole bunch of venues in Norway, in Sweden, in Belgium. So this, you know, this is, I mean, it's being given a beautiful edition here in America, so it's poised to translate that success to this country. We shall see if it works. It's a debut novel. I'll always love those, and it comes out in March, so we've got a ways to go. We'll see. We'll see how that turns out. It is intriguing. All right, let's see what this next one is. Oh, okay. All right. This comes out next year as well. This is, I think I requested this. This is by Mary Calvey, and it is Dear George, Dear Mary. That cover. That is a nice washed painting cover with the title printed on a stack of letters, a stack of old-style letters. That's a nice design. This is a novel about George Washington and the first woman that he wanted to marry. Mary Calvey spent years as a child wondering about the heiress who once lived in the grand manor in her hometown of Yonkers, New York. She'd heard in passing that the heiress was courted by George Washington. Curiosity compelled Calvey to do her own research, and what she uncovers stunned even her, a New York City TV anchor, reporter, and winner of 9 New York Emmy Awards. Good Lord. Good for her. This is a debut novel, and in her debut novel, this is the captivating result of years of research that took her around the world. Did unrequited love spark a flame that ignited a cause that became the American Revolution? Short answer, no. Samuel Adams sparked the American Revolution, and Samuel Adams experienced no unrequited love in his life. Never before has this story about George Washington been told. Crafted from hundreds of letters, witness accounts, and journal entries, Dear George, Dear Mary explores George's relationship with his first love, New York heiress Mary Philipse, the richest belle in colonial America. It reveals why George Washington had such bitter resentment toward the Brits, established nearly 2 decades before the American Revolution, and it unveils details of a deception long hidden from the world that led Mary to be named a traitor, condemned to death, and left with nothing. While that may sound like the end, ultimately both Mary and George achieve what they always wanted. Okay, all right, well, that is the way to pitch this, certainly, if you're trying to pitch this to either a publisher or to book-selling agents or to the reading public. You want to pitch it that way. That's fantastic. Wow. Okay. No, it won't. It probably won't ultimately work as a portrait of George Washington. Okay. Since 20 years before the Revolution, George Washington wanted to be wealthy. That's what he wanted, to be wealthy. 40 years before the American Revolution, he wanted to be wealthy. 2 years before the American Revolution, he wanted to be wealthy. He wanted to be wealthy. It governed his choice of who he married. It governed his choice of who he spent time with. And it governed his career. 2 years before the American Revolution broke out, if the British colonial government had extended a generalship to George Washington, he would have accepted it. And then when the revolution broke out, he would have spent his time leading well-provisioned and well-manned and well-trained armies up and down the continent, killing Americans. So the idea that he had some sort of some sort of American destiny to fulfill always bugs me when authors do that. He was the indefatigable leader of the American cause because they got to him first. And the source of bitterness from 20 years before was not a spurned love affair. It was that he was denied advancement in the army that he originally served in. and that he originally swore his oath of loyalty to. But one way or another, this I read a bit of it, and in a copy that I saw, not this copy, but I read a bit of it and was impressed, despite the fact this is a debut novel. That's 2 debut historical novels in a row, and you can see what I was talking about the other day. The 2019 looks like it's going to be a great year for historical fiction. If I can feel that way about a novel about George Washington that's going to make him Christ on Earth, then I can feel it about just about anything. But we also have Nicholas Nat Dag as well. And not the only. There are plenty of other things. That Churchill woman, and I'm more and more confident that 2019 is going to have. Might have other signatures as a publishing year, but I think it's going to be a strong year for historical fiction, and that's great news for me because I love historical fiction. In fact, I have. Since I made this pronouncement not just to you poor people who can't go anywhere, but also to critic friends of mine and to some publicists I know, and the publicists have largely agreed. I think I might be right, but we shall see. Let's see what this last one is, and then we'll wrap up for now. And I'll try to make more videos because a day with only one video feels weird. But let's see what this next one is. It's heavy, so it could be a finished copy. Oh, it is a finished copy. Oh, great. Oh, boy, oh, boy. Okay, not historical fiction, but of a type. Really, it's a history. Boy, oh, boy. Wonderful. Okay, this comes to me right in time. I want to reread this. I have the advanced copy. I read it. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And it's by Alex Navala Lee, and it's Astounding. And it's literary history of science fiction, which is hard to come by. Let me see here. This book uncovers the partnership between 4 controversial authors who set off a revolution in science fiction and changed our culture forever. Which might sound like hyperbole, but in this case, I don't know. I thought the author made a very good case for a claim like that, big as it is. Its central figure is John W. Campbell Jr., whom Isaac Asimov called the most powerful force in science fiction ever, but who has never been the subject of a biography before. Campbell wrote the story that has been filmed 3 times as The Thing. Who goes there? Discovered countless legendary writers as the editor of astounding science fiction, and published classic works ranging from I, Robot to Dune. Over a period of more than 30 years, he dominated the genre, and his 3 closest collaborators reached unimaginable heights. Asimov became the most prolific author in American history. Robert Heinlein emerged as the leading science fiction writer of his generation with novels Starship Trooper and Stranger in a Strange Land. And L. Ron Hubbard achieved lasting fame and infamy as the founder of the Church of Scientology. In this extraordinary and deeply researched group biography, the author takes a balanced but unsparing look at these 4 authors, their complicated marriages and private lives, and their collective vision of the future, revealing in unprecedented scope, drama, and detail how the literary genre of science fiction emerged to shape the imaginations of millions. And it's true. The book it's mainly a biography of John Campbell, and then you've got Robert Heinlein and you've got L. Ron Hubbard. But Asimov steals the show quite often in these pages, and the thing I loved most about it is that the author did not just research this subject. He either had naturally or he came to it in the course of researching the feeling of wonder for this grubby, pulpy era when modern science fiction was born. The book is brimming with that feeling of wonder and discovery. And I would have read it, and I would have gobbled it up anyway because I read all these old periodicals. I read all those old science fiction. I loved it. I just loved those founding years of science fiction, and have made many a young reader with those books. So I'd have gobbled this up anyway, but to have that feeling of wonder throughout here was it's a perfectly titled book. And group biographies are difficult to do, and this one works just fine. So what else do we have? This is a huge pub sheet. The book features the intertwined origins of Scientology and science fiction, the connections between science fiction and scientific and technological development, how early pulp science fiction evolved into today's pop culture phenomenon, the evolution of fan culture and everything else. Boy, all right. Well, the pub sheet accurately hits all the stuff that's going on in the book, but I cannot recommend this highly enough. If you are a science fiction fan, then this book is, you're going to love it as much as I did. I'm so happy to have a finished copy. And something, I also want to recommend a book whose title is escaping me. I believe it's called something like the Chinatown Death Cloud Mystery. It was a novel about these years, about these same people that was written, probably 10 or 15 years ago, and it's incredibly good. Memorably, incredibly good. I, of course, do not have a copy to hold up for the camera. I would, next time I see a copy, I will gladly get it, but I don't have one now. Giving it away to everybody. Every time I get a copy, I mail it to somebody and say, "Here, you're going to love this." I will look up what it is so that at least I can leave a link to it on Amazon or Goodreads or anything, and you can see what I'm talking about. But this is even better, because this doesn't have any of the contrivances of fiction. This is just the story of these men and the genre that they have essentially created. No offense intended to Jules Verne and H.G. Wells, but they essentially created it, and it created a cultural phenomenon while they were at it. And not just Scientology. I'm sorry, I'm babbling now. I'm very happy to have this. Wonderful. Wonderful. I highly recommend this if you like science fiction. If you're a science fiction fan, this has to be in your library. I think your allegiances as you read will line up with mine. I'd be willing to bet they will. Despite the fact that most of the time in this book is devoted to John Campbell, he eludes the author, as he has eluded everyone. Great editors tend to be elusive. A. Scott Berg wrote a whole book about Maxwell Perkins, and he's barely in it. They elude grasp. I think it's a professional requirement. And Asimov steals the show. You will love him as a character, I don't particularly like him as an author, but I loved him as a character in this book. And also, you won't come out of this book neutral about L. Ron Hubbard, that's for sure. And the amazing thing is, the author, I don't think, is trying to massage those reactions at all. He's just assembling the facts and telling them in a great way, and I think they speak for themselves. So, anyway, so we have Astounding, basically a 4-part history of the beginning of modern science fiction. Then Dear George, Dear Mary, a debut historical novel in 2019 about a young George Washington. And what is this? The Wolf and the Watchman, another debut historical novel for 2019. And last, Off the Rails, a sort of travel journey, a travel memoir about all the time the author has spent on rail lines and what it's like to do that, looking out your window from your little cabin. I have done that so many times. I've enjoyed it so much. Of course, the quickest way to get the enjoyment out of that experience is to go in steerage, to travel, crammed next to someone in a seat in a room full of people who are, haven't bathed in 4 days, are eating all the time, or babies crying or whatnot. The trains, a small compartment of your own is the way to do it. And sometimes, many times in fact, on Amtrak, I have even done, on Amtrak and also on Eurail, many times I've done where I not only have my own compartment, but where I sprang a little bit extra for either my own little shower stall or access to a communal shower stall. And that makes it just heaven on earth. Then you just want to keep traveling forever. And there are all sorts of rumors. I wonder if they'll be covered in this book. There are all sorts of rumors of people who do travel forever. They just are constantly traveling by train. They just view it as a way to spend their money, so they just travel constantly by train. If those rumors aren't true, that deserves to be a NaNoWriMo story. But one way or another, this plus a one Kirkus book is our first mail haul of the day. And I don't know if you can hear the background, but it is pouring rain outside. So, the idea of taking the bean outside, it's not going to work. So I don't know what we're going to do, because the rain isn't forecast to end until morning. So she's going to have to go outside. I'll figure out a way. In the meantime, I will wrap this up, and maybe I'll see you again today. Thank you, BookTube.